in town with your family, would you like to come and walk through the Vatican Museum and the Sistine Chapel by yourselves without any tourists?
When Ridley Scott's film Gladiator was released in the year 2000, it sparked widespread interest because it was more than just a movie. It was a spectacle that evoked the grandeur and cruelty of classical Rome. Maximus, a fallen general who was enslaved and subsequently rebelled against an empire, is one of the most iconic characters in film. Every scene conveyed a feeling of daring, passion, and betrayal that has persisted throughout film history. There were genuine moments of pain, secret problems, and decisions that caused you to reconsider all you thought you knew about the film. After years of silence, those who wore the armor are finally speaking up, and their truth is not what we were led to think back then. Let's get right into it. The film almost had a different name. Gladiator endured a storm of uncertainty before becoming the well-known name that echoed across movie screens. What if the movie that altered history had not been named Gladiator? Would it still have had the same power or the same shout that reverberated throughout history? Ridley Scott and his crew were caught between multiple names in the early phases of development. While some thought Sword of Rome was sufficiently spectacular, others recommended The Spanish General, but none of them captured the essence of a man who had lost everything and was fighting for honor rather than glory. Ridley Scott wanted something simple, something that struck like lightning. He said the title should tell the story before a single line is spoken. It had to embody strength, courage, and the raw will to rise again. However, even as they filmed the first scenes, the title was still undecided. Can you imagine the confusion on set, with actors performing in a movie that had no proper name? It was Russell Crowe who pushed for clarity, saying that the story deserved a title as strong as its hero. Then, the room grew silent when someone finally mentioned Gladiator. Even though it was just one word, it carried the weight of an entire empire. The title simultaneously indicated freedom, struggle, and victory. The identity of the movie was set in stone from that point on. Gladiator had evolved from a title to a legacy. It encapsulated everything Maximus battled for and all the film stood for. Would The Spanish General have had the same impact on the world? Probably not. Some names are destiny, and Gladiator was one of them, don't you think? The film almost had a different ending. Of course, the ending of Gladiator is one of the most unforgettable moments in film history. Viewers watched in silence as Maximus found peace after his long struggle for justice. However, did you know that this ending was not part of the original plan? According to the report and manuscript, Maximus was meant to survive. He was supposed to walk out of the Colosseum free from his chains and return home to rebuild his life. Imagine that version. Would it have felt the same? Would the audience have felt the weight of his sacrifice? Russell Crowe and Ridley Scott both had a little problem deciding how to end the story. They were looking for something impactful and memorable for the audience. After much suggestion and deliberation, they agreed on a finale that resonated with everyone, following numerous revisions and lengthy discussions. It was a victory of spirit rather than a matter of survival. Maximus attained freedom in a higher sense, even though he did not live to see it. Unbelievably, everything changed as a result of that choice. In an unexpected twist, the final scene evolved from a straightforward conclusion to a classic farewell. If Maximus had survived, would the movie have been different? Maybe not. Let's not be too dramatic. After all, it was just a movie and nobody actually passed away. Digital crowds were used for the first time. One of the most impressive sights in Gladiator is the vast Colosseum filled with tens of thousands of cheering spectators. But did you know that not all of those people were real? For the first time in a major film of its kind, Ridley Scott and his team used digital technology to create crowds that moved, reacted, and cheered as if they were alive. Can you imagine the challenge of making an arena that feels packed with energy without filling it with extras? The production combined hundreds of real extras with groundbreaking computer-generated imagery. Each digital figure was programmed to behave differently, from waving banners to jumping in excitement. The goal was to make the stadium feel like it held 50,000 people, all reacting naturally to the events in the arena. This innovation made the battles and speeches feel much more alive and realistic. It was not just a technical achievement, but a storytelling breakthrough. The digital crowds enabled the filmmakers to focus on the actors while still conveying to viewers the sense of scale and chaos of ancient Rome. Would the arena have felt so grand without this technology? Probably not. This clever use of digital crowds set a new standard for epic films everywhere. The opening battle was filmed in a real forest. For starters, the opening battle sequence in Gladiator was one of the most breathtaking scenes in modern cinema. When Maximus led his troops against the Germanic tribes, the chaos, the noise, and the energy felt almost tangible. But did you know that this epic scene was filmed in a real forest, not on a controlled set or as a result of careful editing? Ridley Scott wanted authenticity above all else. He wanted the audience to feel the mud under the soldiers' boots, the cold wind against their faces, and the tension that comes with real danger. The location was a dense forest in England, chosen for its wild, untamed appearance. Hundreds of extras were brought in, along with real horses, wagons, and fire effects. Each soldier had to navigate uneven terrain, slippery mud, and dense undergrowth while performing complex combat choreography. Imagine the challenge of coordinating so many people and animals in a real environment where anything could happen. Every tree, every branch, and every shadow became part of the story. The realism did not come without cost. Many of the extras and even the leading actors suffered minor injuries due to the rough conditions, and the horses often slipped on the wet leaves. Yet, all of this contributed to the raw, visceral power of the scene. You can almost feel the tension and fear as Maximus rallies his men, knowing that danger is everywhere. By filming in a real forest, Scott created more than just a battle. He developed an experience that pulls viewers into the heart of ancient warfare, and dynamically the mud, trees, and unpredictable environment made the opening battle unforgettable, setting the tone for the epic story that follows. Russell Crowe almost rejected his role. Yes, before Russell Crowe became the face of Maximus, he nearly walked away from the role entirely. Can you imagine a world where someone else played the legendary general? Crowe was hesitant when he first received the script. He was concerned about the possibility of relating to a figure so disconnected from his own life, and he thought the plot seemed gloomy and demanding. Due to these thoughts, he almost decided to reject the role, but thankfully, Ridley Scott came to the rescue and persuaded him to take the role. In a bid to strongly convince Russell, Ridley described Maximus as a man of honor and bravery, in addition to being a warrior. Fortunately, it worked like magic. After much deliberation and contemplation, he finally agreed. Once filming began, it was clear the decision had been the right one. Crowe immersed himself entirely in the role, learning sword fighting, horseback riding, and even training like a real soldier. He pushed his body to the limit to make the battles feel authentic, and his dedication shaped the entire film. Some of the most intense scenes were born from Crowe's willingness to take risks. Did he know that his commitment would earn him an Academy Award for Best Actor? Perhaps not at the start, but it became inevitable as he brought Maximus to life with unmatched intensity. Without Crowe's eventual acceptance, Gladiator might have been a very different film. Could another actor have captured the same raw power and emotional depth? Most fans would agree that Russell Crowe's portrayal of Maximus created a cinematic hero that will be remembered forever. Real tigers on set. One of the most memorable scenes in Gladiator was the arena sequence where Maximus faced perilous creatures. Many viewers assumed these were all special effects, but the truth is more astonishing. The tigers used in the film were real, trained animals brought to the set under strict supervision. Can you imagine standing so close to such powerful and unpredictable predators? The actors had to be extremely careful, and the trainers were always nearby to ensure safety. The production team used 5 different tigers for the scenes, each selected for specific behaviors. Some were trained to pace and roar, while others were conditioned to respond to cues during action sequences. Despite this, the presence of real tigers added a layer of tension and authenticity that no computer-generated animal could achieve at the time. Russell Crowe later said that he could feel their power even from a distance, and that energy carried into his performance as Maximus. Filming with real tigers presented its own set of challenges. The animals could not be forced to act precisely as planned, so the crew had to adapt to their movements. Lighting, camera angles, and timing all had to account for the unpredictability of the creatures. Could the scene have been as intense if the tigers were fake? Probably not. The fear and awe seen on the faces of both the characters and the audience are real. Using actual tigers gave the arena moments a thrilling, dangerous feeling that became one of the most unforgettable sequences in cinema history. A Roman city inspired the design. The grandeur of the Colosseum and the streets of Rome in Gladiator feel so real that many viewers assume the film was shot entirely in Italy. In fact, much of the production took place in Morocco, but actual Roman cities heavily inspired the design. Ridley Scott and his team studied ruins, historical records, and ancient maps to recreate a city that looked both authentic and cinematic. Can you imagine the effort it took to bring a 2,000-year-old empire back to life on screen? Every detail mattered. The texture of the stone, the arrangement of buildings, and even the placement of market stalls were carefully researched. The production designers visited Rome and other archaeological sites to ensure that the architecture, streets, and public spaces reflected what life was like in ancient Rome would have been like during the Roman Empire. Thankfully, by grounding the film in reality, Ridley Scott imbued every scene with a sense of history and scale that made the characters' struggles, victories, and losses feel immediate and real. The city became more than a backdrop. It was a character in its own right, shaping the story in every frame. Joaquin Phoenix improvised his most chilling moment. If you've watched the movie, you'd definitely agree with me that Joaquin Phoenix was known for fully immersing himself in his characters, and his performance as Commodus in Gladiator was no exception. Yes, one of the most chilling moments in the film was not scripted. During a quiet scene in the Emperor's chamber, Commodus cried, a small gesture that carries enormous weight. Did you know that those tears were completely Joaquin Phoenix's choice? You heard that right? It was his own improvisation, added to create a moment of vulnerability in a character known for his cruelty and ambition. Ridley Scott chose to include the improvisation in the final cut after realizing its power. That single moment revealed a side of Commodus that had never been written about. It demonstrated that even those consumed by power experience human emotions, fears, and desires. The subtlety of Phoenix's acting transformed the scene from a simple dialogue into a moment of tension and complexity that lingers long after the frame ends. Improvisation on a set of this scale is rare, yet Phoenix's choice demonstrated his understanding of character and story. Could the scene have been as memorable if it had been strictly scripted? Maybe not. Surprisingly, the unplanned tear heightened the tension and brought viewers closer to the protagonist's inner lives. This modest, unplanned gesture, which demonstrates the enormous force of an actor prepared to take chances for the sake of truth, is still one of Gladiator's most eerie and beloved scenes. The armor was handcrafted. Every piece of armor in Gladiator tells a story, not just of the character wearing it, but of the craftsmanship behind it. Ridley Scott sought authenticity, and he insisted that the armor be handmade, rather than mass-produced or digitally created. Can you fathom the talent and perseverance needed to make hundreds of intricate parts that had to appear old, worn from combat, and distinctive for each character? Skilled artisans used genuine leather, metal, and historically authentic designs to meticulously manufacture each sword, shield, helmet, and piece of armor. To ensure that every aspect accurately represented the time period, the production team researched Roman military equipment and consulted with historians to ensure accuracy. So, because no two pieces were the same, the troops on television appeared to be a living, breathing army rather than a homogeneous group of extras. Every battle scene felt dramatic and realistic due to the textures, scratches, and minor flaws that added realism, which viewers might not be aware of. Actors trained extensively to move naturally in the heavy armor, learning how to fight, ride horses, and perform stunts while wearing gear that weighed dozens of pounds. Could the battles have looked as authentic if the armor had been fake or generic? Probably not. The handcrafted armor gave the film a tactile, grounded feeling, making every clash, every charge, and every victory feel real. It became more than protection. It became a symbol of the character's strength, courage, and resilience, and a vital element that made Gladiator a cinematic masterpiece. Ridley Scott used paintings as inspiration. Acknowledged as a visual genius, Ridley created the appearance and atmosphere of ancient Rome by drawing influence from artworks that date back hundreds of years. He studied the works of artists who depicted historical conflicts, cityscapes, and the light falling on soldiers and emperors for hours before he started shooting. Can you picture a director shaping entire movie scenes with paintings? For Scott, each frame of Gladiator was a living painting, intended to convey a narrative without the need for spoken words. The colors, the shadows, and the way light fell on the characters' faces were all influenced by classic art. Even the arena sequences were framed to look like battle paintings, giving the audience a sense of movement, drama, and scale. Scott believed that using these visual guides would make the movie feel both epic and real. It was not just about battles or swords, it was about capturing emotion and the soul of the story through images. The result is a film that looks timeless. Each scene is carefully composed, almost like a painting that comes to life. Could the movie have had the same impact without this inspiration? Most likely not. The use of paintings gave the film a sense of history and grandeur, making viewers feel as though they were witnessing ancient Rome firsthand. Every scene, every shot, carries a layer of artistic mastery that transforms Gladiator into an unforgettable visual experience. More soundtracks. Surprisingly, Hans Zimmer and Lisa Gerrard composed the haunting music that defined and continues to define Gladiator. Before their work, epic films frequently used traditional orchestras, but this score combined sweeping orchestral sounds with haunting vocal chants. Can you imagine hearing an arena roar and feeling your heart race solely because of the music? The score added emotion to every scene, from Maximus riding into battle to his quiet moments of reflection. Zimmer and Gerrard wanted to make the music a character in its own right. The soaring vocals and powerful rhythms gave the film energy, suspense, and a timeless feel. Some scenes were re-edited to match the music, showing how central it was to the storytelling. Without it, the fights and victories might not have felt so alive, and the quiet moments would not have hit so deeply. The influence of this score went far beyond Gladiator. Filmmakers around the world began using similar techniques, blending vocal sounds with orchestral music to evoke emotion. Could modern epic films exist without the trail that Zimmer and Gerrard blazed? Probably not. Remarkably, the music helped shape a new era in movie soundtracks, showing that the right combination of instruments and voices can make a story unforgettable. Every note in Gladiator carries the weight of history, struggle, and triumph, making it one of the most iconic scores in cinematic history. The Colosseum was not fully built. When viewers watch the Colosseum scenes in Gladiator, they feel an overwhelming sense of enormity, density, and vitality. But the truth is that the structure seen on screen was only partially built in reality. Ridley Scott combined a real set with advanced digital effects to make the arena appear massive. Can you believe that some of the largest crowd shots were entirely digital, yet look so real? The mix of real structures and computer-generated extensions created an illusion that made the audience forget the technology behind it. The production team built only 1/3 of the Colosseum, carefully photographing it from different angles. Then, visual effects artists digitally extended it, adding extra arches, seats, and spectators. Every detail was designed to match historical evidence of what the Colosseum looked like at its peak. Even the shadows and lighting were digitally corrected to ensure the fake portions blended seamlessly with the real set. This combination of real and digital made the arena feel alive and dangerous. Could the film have felt as epic without this technique? Most likely not. By using partial construction and digital enhancement, the filmmakers created one of the most realistic arenas ever seen in cinema. Every roar, every cheer, every moment in the arena feels massive, and it all comes from the clever combination of reality and technology. The Colosseum became a character in its own right, shaping the story and heightening every victory and every challenge. The film won 5 Academy Awards. Gladiator did not just captivate audiences, it also conquered the Academy Awards. In 2001, the film won 5 Oscars, including Best Picture, and Best Actor for Russell Crowe. With great joy in his heart and satisfaction, knowing that the world had acknowledged the importance of the movie and his dedication, Crowe received those awards. The awards honored the years of effort put out by Ridley Scott, the actors, and the entire crew to bring ancient Rome to life. The movie also won Best Sound, Best Visual Effects, and Best Costume Design, demonstrating the importance of every little detail. Beautifully made armor, believable locales, realistic people, and a fantastic soundtrack all contributed to its success. Even the lighting, which was inspired by paintings, contributed to the creation of visually appealing images for both audiences and critics. If the filmmakers had taken shortcuts, would they have been able to win these awards? Of course not. Impressively, Gladiator's 5 Academy Awards solidified its status as one of the best movies of its time. It was proof that epic storytelling, attention to detail, and passionate performances could stand the test of time. Additionally, directors, composers, and designers worldwide continue to be influenced by the film's legacy, underscoring the profound impact that great filmmaking can have on creating moments that future generations will remember. The truth behind the thumb gesture. One of the most debated moments in Gladiator is the famous thumb gesture in the arena. Did Maximus give the signal for mercy or for the crowd to demand his opponent's defeat? The truth is that historians are not sure what the Romans actually did with their thumbs. Ridley Scott intentionally left the gesture ambiguous to heighten suspense and intrigue. Can you imagine being in the dark about the outcome at a critical moment? Dynamically, this uncertainty gives the scenario more strength. One's perspective determines the significance of the gesture. It denotes honor, strategy, and control to Maximus. It becomes a suspenseful time for the spectators, as they wonder what will happen until the final blow is struck. Fans continue to dispute whether the gesture represented punishment or a sign of life. This decision demonstrates how even seemingly trivial details may make a situation unforgettable. Scott's ability to construct a compelling story was demonstrated by his decision not to explain the gesture. If the meaning had been made clear, do you think the arena would still have been as tense as it was? Well, one can't be too sure because it never happened. So, due to this uncertainty, viewers were given an open floor to interpret individuals and history however they saw fit. Summarily, the thumb gesture signified strategy, uncertainty, and the drama of the Colosseum. It was more than just a hand gesture. Long after the movie is over, viewers are still enthralled by one of the most well-known and talked-about scenes in movie history. Oliver Reed's final scenes were digital magic. Have you ever wondered how the filmmakers completed Oliver Reed's role after he passed away during filming? Oliver Reed, who played Proximo, died suddenly before he could finish all of his scenes. Rather than recast or remove him, Ridley Scott's team used a combination of existing footage and early digital technology to complete the character. This was one of the first times a major film relied on digital magic to preserve an actor's performance. The crew carefully analyzed every frame Oliver had already filmed and used body doubles and CGI to finish the missing shots. Facial expressions and movements were recreated with great attention to detail to maintain continuity. It was a delicate process because audiences could easily notice mistakes. Can you imagine the challenge of blending real acting with digital effects in a way that feels natural? Russell Crowe got hurt multiple times. You have no idea how far Russell Crowe went to make Maximus seem plausible. All we saw as viewers were the polished scenes, but a lot actually happened behind those cameras. Almost all of Crowe's stunts, including sword fights and horse clashes, were done by him. The role's physical demands were taxing. He sustained scratches, sprains, and bruises while filming, yet he persevered through every sequence. Is it possible for an actor to put up with such hardship and still give one of the best performances in movie history? In this case, yes. To make every moment genuine, Crowe trained like a professional soldier, mastering military movements, horseback riding, and sword combat methods. It requires power and accuracy to perform even simple tasks, such as charging in formation or wielding a sword. Although stunt coordinators and directors kept a watchful eye on him, the authenticity of his portrayal occasionally resulted in minor injuries. Over 600 weapons for just one film? Would more than 600 swords, shields, and spears be needed for a single movie? For Gladiator, that was made a reality. The props department painstakingly crafted hundreds of weapons to appear realistic and ensure the safety of the performers. Each piece had to be realistic in war scenes and reflect Roman design. The swords were blunted for safety, but sharpened for authenticity. Actors could carry the strengthened shields throughout extended takes because they were lightweight. From the grip to the metal finish, spears, daggers, and other weaponry were meticulously crafted. No two weapons were exactly alike, giving the soldiers a lived-in, authentic appearance. Creating so many weapons required coordination, planning, and a deep understanding of Roman history. Could the battles have looked as convincing if the props had been generic or mass-produced? Let's be realistic here. Gladiator was great because of the determination and work done behind the scenes. Many extras were local villagers. You heard that right. Hundreds of local villagers from Morocco were recruited to fill the stands, giving the film a genuine energy that computer graphics alone could not provide. Their reactions, cheers, and movements created a living, breathing coliseum. Working with local villagers presented unique challenges. Many had never acted before, so directors and coordinators had to guide them carefully through the scenes. From waving banners to reacting to battles, each extra had to look natural. Can you imagine coordinating hundreds of people who had never set foot on a movie set before? The filmmakers relied on patience, rehearsal, and creativity to achieve the desired effect, and of course, everybody loved it in the end. The crew built a miniature coliseum for close shots. While the full-scale set and digital extensions created the grand view, the filmmakers built a miniature version of the Colosseum for tight camera angles. This allowed them to film complex shots of the architecture and spectators without relying entirely on CGI or massive sets. Every stone, arch, and step in the miniature was creatively made to match the larger version. To give close-up scenes depth and realism, the crew even included small figurines to mimic the throng. The miniature appeared full-scale on screen due to the meticulous planning of the lighting and camera angles. Can you imagine the patience and accuracy required to make it appear flawless? Using the miniature allowed Ridley Scott to capture detailed perspectives that enhanced the storytelling. Thanks to this creativity, viewers could focus on character interactions while still feeling the scale of the arena. Joaquin Phoenix avoided Crowe, offset. Sometimes, in an effort to make a misunderstanding look and feel realistic, actors have to do some crazy stuff. Joaquin Phoenix went to great lengths to stay in character as Commodus, especially around Russell Crowe. Behind the spotlight, Phoenix kept his distance from Crowe, avoiding casual interactions, conversations, and even meals together. Why? He wanted the rivalry between Maximus and Commodus to feel authentic. Every glance, every word, and every confrontation in the film had real tension behind it. This method of acting made the scenes crackle with energy. The audience senses the rivalry in every exchange, every subtle movement and every pause. Even small gestures, like a raised eyebrow or a dismissive look, carry weight because the actors maintain this distance throughout filming. New day, new script. Imagine arriving on set every morning and discovering that the script has changed overnight. That was the reality for the cast of Gladiator. Writers constantly rewrote dialogue and adjusted scenes to improve pacing, deepen character emotions, and respond to on-set discoveries. If given a chance, can you deliver powerful performances without knowing precisely what you would say until the day of filming? You'd probably need superpowers to do that, if you ask me. However, the actors, including Russell Crowe, adapted quickly to the demands of the day, picking up new lines rapidly without needing to rehearse for days. On the other hand, directors and crew also had to make adjustments to the choreography, props, and camera angles to accommodate the revised content. This process may sound chaotic, but it added a layer of freshness to the performances. The uncertainty allowed actors to explore emotional depth and creativity in real time. Do you think Gladiator would have been as perfect as it was if there were no changes of lines and scenes in between takes? Perhaps not. In a way, the daily rewrites made the story dynamic, alive, and unpredictable, ensuring that every take captured genuine emotion. The film revived ancient epics. Large-scale epics were uncommon in cinemas before Gladiator. Everything was altered by Ridley Scott's masterwork, which showed that viewers are drawn to tales of honor, power, and ancient cultures. The movie created a cinematic experience that had been absent for decades by fusing complex characters, epic conflicts, and emotional depth. Gladiator's popularity rekindled interest in epic narrative. The scope and drama Scott brought to the screen served as an inspiration for movies like Troy, Kingdom of Heaven, and The Hundred. Without this innovation, would audiences today have been interested in ancient history in such detail? Most likely not. Gladiator demonstrated to viewers that epic tales can be both thrilling and emotionally compelling. The film's influence extended beyond the screen. Costume designers, set builders, and composers found new opportunities to recreate historical worlds with authenticity and accuracy. Schools and universities even used the movie to discuss Roman history, demonstrating that entertainment could both educate and inspire. Russell Crowe kept a prop as a secret souvenir. Have you ever wanted a souvenir from a movie set? Russell Crowe took that idea to another level. After filming Wrapped, he quietly took home Maximus's sword. Why? He said it reminded him of the hard work, intense training, and countless battles that shaped his performance. Fans joke that he might have used it to settle arguments at home or fend off intruders. The sword itself was carefully crafted for the film, handmade with attention to historical detail. Crowe carrying it home is both humorous and dramatic. It's a tangible piece of cinematic history in the hands of the man who brought Maximus to life. Can you imagine owning a prop that played a central role in one of the greatest epics ever made? This little secret shows how actors sometimes hold on to moments of their craft in unexpected ways. Crowe didn't announce it or sell it. He kept it as a personal reminder of his journey. Could the sword have felt as meaningful if it had stayed locked away in a studio? Probably not. It became a symbol of dedication, achievement, and a story all its own, adding a playful human touch to the epic drama of Gladiator. The Colosseum dust was made of crushed marble. According to the reports, the production team mixed marble with sand to create a reflective surface that looked realistic and cinematic. Can you imagine the effort it took to prepare hundreds of tons of this special mixture for battle scenes? The crushed marble not only added visual authenticity, but also enhanced lighting for the cameras. The shimmer of the dust made each scene feel alive. From the first clash of swords to the roar of the crowd, actors had to navigate this unusual surface carefully while performing complex stunts and choreography. The film almost lost its lead actor, mid-shot. According to the reports, Russell Crowe nearly quit in the middle of a scene due to conflicts with the producers during filming. Crowe raised tensions and threw doubt on Gladiator's destiny by challenging artistic choices. If he had departed, would the entire operation have failed? Fans of today might never have seen Maximus come to life. To keep Crowe on board, Ridley Scott had to persuade, reassure, and even make concessions. The actor's dedication to the part presented both opportunities and difficulties. After that delicate moment, every scene was more dramatic, emphasizing Crowe's frustration and drive. Despite the extremely high stakes in the production, the team persisted because they were committed to capturing every challenge, feeling, and triumph. This behind-the-scenes drama reminds us that even legendary films are fragile, built on talent, timing, and trust. What if Crowe had walked away? Would the story of Maximus still inspire millions? How well do you think another character would have been able to interpret Crowe's role if he had walked away? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more engaging content. We look forward to seeing you in our next video. Bye for now.